Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we have something extremely exciting to take a look at. This is a model that I have been very much so looking forward to. We have one of a brand new set, technically, because you can buy each one individually or you can buy them as a set, but we have a prehistoric mammal now entering the Wonders of the Wild series from Star Ace, and it doesn't get much more exciting than that because I love the Wonders of the Wild series, but I also love prehistoric mammals. We just don't get enough of them, and I'm really happy to see some entering the Wonders of the Wild series. They really have quite a bit of a fair share of variety in this line now at this point. We've got like prehistoric fish, we have dinosaurs, we have now mammals. Of course, we've actually had some mammals before, as we have had a mammoth and an elasmotherium released recently, so it's pretty cool to see, again, more continuing in that trend of prehistoric mammals, as we now have the dire wolf. And you can see we've got a really cool looking image here on the front of the box showing off the model, kind of in a very ferocious looking pose, that is for sure. If we turn the box around here to the side, you can see another image there of the model itself, also the Wonders of the Wild series, and then again, prehistoric creatures, polyresin statue, and then if we turn it around, actually if we go over here to the other side, again, a really cool shot there for sure of the dire wolf. And then here on the back, you basically just have some information on the series, on the model, everything else, and of course, this is another Sean Cooper sculpt, which is awesome. I think every one of these Wonders of the Wild series models have all been sculpted by Sean Cooper, if I recall correctly, which is awesome because he's probably one of my favorite paleo artists out there. So let's pop this box open and check it out. First of all, as we usually do, we've got the nameplate, and you can see again the information on the species. The nameplate is really nicely done, pretty much your classic or trademark nameplate when it comes to these Wonders of the Wild series models. I really like that they include those because it just helps to give you, again, that nice museum style display. And then here is our model now. I just set it up here on the table, got it all put together, and man, does that thing ever look awesome. One thing straight out of the gate that I am really impressed with that I did not notice on any of the prototypes about this is the fact that, and I don't know how well you can see it currently because of the coloration compared to the backdrop there, but we actually have whiskers on it, and you can see them here on the face. Like, it's not just something that's sculpted in, like they're actual genuine whiskers on the model, which is insanely cool, definitely adding a nice element of realism when it comes to that. But look at how cool that looks. Like, talk about striking. And this is a model of a species that you really do not see get made often. I don't know why. You would think there would definitely be more out there, but there just isn't. I just don't understand it. And again, the sculpt looks absolutely incredible. The paint job as well is extremely well done. It may be one of the best paint jobs I've seen on any of these Star Ace Wonders of the Wild series releases so far. So, as always, we're going to go ahead and jump straight to a closer look, and we'll check it out from there. So, starting up here at the head sculpt of our dire wolf, you should definitely be able to see the whiskers a little bit better now, and you can see they were a little kind of jumbled in the actual package. I had to kind of pull them out and then reshape them. Of course, I could probably do a better job, but they're basically just sitting wherever at this point. But again, I could probably push them into a little bit of a more natural position, but they look really cool. That is something that I was just like honestly shocked about when I first pulled it out because I was not expecting that. And again, I think it definitely helps to add a very nice dose of realism to this model that you usually don't see. It's not very often that you see that kind of dedication to the realism of a model when it comes to any company that normally would release a mass-produced figure or model like this, and that, again, just says a lot about how much Star Ace cares about their product. Of course, another one of the most striking aspects of the model is just how ferocious this dire wolf looks and how very cool and dynamic the pose is here. We can see the mouth is wide open for the dire wolf. Definitely, again, looking as ferocious as it gets. Look at that. That is definitely not something that I would want to be present for. That is for sure. That coming right at me. And you can see with the mouth opened, you can obviously get a nice glimpse of the inside of the mouth. You can see the tongue sculpted out in there. Really nice detail through through the entire inside of the mouth. That looks really good on the upper side as well. Beautiful paintwork, as we've got some very dark purples, but there definitely seems to be a little variation of color in there, maybe a little bit of a lighter purple like dry brushing or something, as well as possibly a dark wash in there. But you can see all of the teeth are sculpted really nicely as well, of course, as you move through. And another thing that's really cool about the teeth, on top of looking fantastic when it comes to the sculpts, the paint job is really well done for those. You can see we have a really nice, sort of like an off-white, but they seem to have been given kind of like a brownish wash, and it just adds so much realism to those teeth. They look as honestly genuine as it gets. They want, especially the fangs, like, look at those fangs. They 100% look like real teeth right there on the dire wolf. And they're also given a nice gloss coat. You can see the gums up here again when it comes to the upper jaw as well. So loads of realism in the inside of the mouth there, and again, just fantastic sculpt and paint all around. You can also, of course, see the nose is sculpted out, also painted, and given a nice little satin shine for the nose, which you would expect to see. We've got some nice variation of color here in the face, as you can see, lighter variations of a gray kind of running along the jawline, but you can actually see different variations of even that, as there's a lighter gray here, but an even lighter gray right here. But as you transition back, you get quite a bit of variation to the grays, and I can even see some brownish tones picking up. There is actually a ton of variation of color right here in this particular spot of the dire wolf, which is crazy cool. You can see the eyes are painted very nicely, given a yellow and a black pupil. The gloss coat is perfect on that as well, definitely giving it that nice realistic eye shine. And then when you look at it from the front, you can see it staring us down and looking very, very angry. The fur detail also looks really nice. You've got some nice fine fur up on the snout, but as you lead back here into the side of the head, obviously the fur starts to get a bit thicker and a bit more wild. There's a nice amount of waviness to the fur as well, which is really cool. Same deal for the upper part of the head. And again, they did a great job on painting this. Like, they've just brought out all of the details so nicely and so impressively with the way that they've painted this. I could see like dry brushing techniques and stuff that have been added to highlight all of that fur detail so nicely. And as you lead back here, you can see the ear. You can see a little bit of a furry look to the inside of the ear as well. And again, some nice fine fur on the upper side, even variation of color to the ear. As you lead back a little bit further, obviously we've got lots of scruffy fur here picking up right past the head as we lead into the neck. Same deal here as you lead down along the side. And again, you can see just so much realism to the way that the fur is sculpted out, with all the different wavy areas of the fur kind of heading in different directions and stuff, imperfections to the way that it kind of sits on the animal. It just looks really cool, very realistic. Even right here, you can see like fur kind of sticking up off of the body, which is really nice. And again, I honestly don't think I could even pick up on all of the variation of color that we have present on this. There's just so much of it. As you lead down here, you can see the shoulder blade, nice muscle definition as well. As you lead down into the leg, obviously the fur becomes a lot more fine. As you lead down further into the leg, you've got a really nice foot sculpt. The nails are painted with a nice light tone. They also have a gloss coat added to them, so they shine very realistically. And you can even see how the nails are kind of extended, like it's obviously about to lunge in and attack, which is a really nice little touch when it comes to that. As you lead up into the stomach, you can see how both legs are kind of pressing together, kind of scrunching the skin. That as well is shown off nicely in the sculpt. And the fur detail, again, continues to look honestly jaw-dropping as you move through the course of this model. As you lead back, you've got the hip bone present. You can see the thigh. And I like how we have that nice kind of fine fur here. But as you lead back, you get such scruffy fur leading off of the back of the leg right there. That looks really nice as well. You can see the knee in the front, as well as, again, the leg leading down. It's planted down as the dire wolf is walking up a slight incline, and you can see the nails and everything look great back here. The toes, again, nicely sculpted. And then we lead back up here. We've got a really nice tail sculpt. The tail is held up into the air with some more really nice, very, again, shaggy fur kind of leading off, wavy fur leading off of the back of the tail. And again, even more variation of color back there. So many different slight transitions between different grays that you see on this, which looks really cool. As you lead down, you can actually see the genitalia is present here for the underside of the dire wolf, which leads me to believe that this is definitely a male. You can see we also have a peg here because the model is held into the base with a peg. And actually, there's another area here, which you'll see in a second, but there, again, is that peg right there, but you can't see that foot sculpt. Looks pretty good from this side. But as you lead up along the underside on top of the genitalia, you will notice that we do have a hole in the stomach region, and that's because there is a clear peg that you can use to help stabilize your model on the base, which we will show off again when we take a look at the base. And then when we turn the wolf around and we take a look at the opposing side, again, on top of looking incredibly vicious, you can see all of the sculpt and detail looks great over here. Very consistent paintwork to what we had seen on the initial side. You can see that it does have its head turned toward its left, away from us. And again, you can see more of that wavy fur leading back. This leg is in obviously a very different position than the one that we have on the other side, but it looks like it's kind of preparing to lunge up at the Smilodon, who is actually the other animal that's included in this diorama that our direwolf is very angry about. Then as you lead back, you've got the leg sculpt again over here. You can see how the leg sculpt is very nicely positioned in kind of like that action pose where it's lunging up off of the rock. You can see the elbow pressing here into the stomach, kind of scrunching the skin of the stomach up right there. That looks really good. You can see how the skin is stretching off of the stomach here as well, because the rear leg is kind of extended back as the direwolf again is kind of lunging forward. And again, some of the most realistic looking paintwork I have ever seen for something like this. It is absolutely incredible, honestly, here in person. I would say it's probably the best painted model from Star Ace when it comes to this series so far, and that's saying something because they've all been really well done. But again, you've got the tail sticking up back here. That is an absolutely incredible direwolf, and unquestionably the best one that I have in my collection. And we've also got a really nice base for it. You can see that it's basically like a nice little rocky area, like a nice rocky formation, kind of like a an incline sort of, if you look at it. Kind of looks a little bit level, but where the actual direwolf is coming from is down here, so it's kind of walking up the rocks here, the rocky formation, up toward the Smilodon. And you can see on top of, very nicely sculpted, again, they've actually sculpted out the fine detail of the rocky formation really nicely. They've added some beautiful paintwork, again, tons of variation of color. You've got all sorts of different browns. You can see a different variation of a brown there compared to the brown that we see up here, and all sorts of, again, variations of grays and everything. It looks genuinely as lifelike as it gets. Like, it looks like a real legitimate piece of a rock or a stone that I just brought in from outside. And on top of that, of course, you can see that peg that I was speaking of, again, that clear peg that runs from like the center of the base up into the center of the direwolf. But you can see over here, you know, you've got like really little stones and stuff, little areas of pebbles and everything that have been sculpted out, kind of similar to what we had seen in the Elasmotherium and woolly mammoth models. You've also got some small areas of vegetation popping up here and there, basically, as you move through the course of the rocks. You've also got the area down here again for the other peg, as well as some dead leaves kind of laying around up here, which is also a really nice little touch. I just love very small additions to bases like that. And I think, honestly, the Wonders of the Wild series, especially recently, have had some of the nicest, most realistic bases that I've ever seen on any prehistoric model. If you look back to the Smilodon, which we haven't taken a look at, of course, this direwolf, as well as the Elasmotherium and woolly mammoth, all of those bases have been out of this world when it comes to the realism. And then, of course, the final piece of the puzzle is just the nameplate here, which you can see has a very nice, very professional look, really well done, and very nicely created overall. It also has a nice soft underside and a soft back to it. So a really cool nameplate to go with an honestly amazing model. And then, of course, to apply the model to the base, you've got, again, that hole over here, which we had seen earlier. You basically want to line that peg up with it. And then as you put that down, there we go, we have it in. As you put that down, you want to take your peg that you have here, slide that into the underside of our direwolf, and it stands really nicely. I actually did have this in without the peg, and it was standing but I think the fact that this is included means it's probably a pretty good idea to use that just for the extra support. But once it's in the base, again, it creates that very cool, very dynamic appearance for a dire wolf, obviously, in the midst of a confrontation. And I can't wait to actually break the Smilodon here out of the package. I have that here as well to review and get up on the channel so we can see what the two of them look like together, because if it's even half as good as this dire wolf, it's going to be an amazing diorama. But as far as a size goes, for a length on the dire wolf, from the snout to the tail, you're looking at about 8¼ inches, or around 21 centimeters. Maybe a little bit longer if you go from the snout to the leg. It's hard to tell because I can't really get it back over there too well. But as far as a height goes, on the ground to the top of the head, I'd say around 6½ inches, or around 16½, approaching 17 centimeters. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, Robert Muldoon, and the Collect A Human being next to our dire wolf, and you can see it does have a pretty good size to it, although it isn't massive, like it's not an absolutely gigantic model. But when it comes to a dire wolf, I feel like it's honestly like the exact size range you would expect it to be in, which is definitely a great thing. The only downside here is I don't have, to my knowledge, I don't recall having any other direwolf models in my collection. If I do, I'm forgetting about it completely, so I don't really have anything to compare with it when it comes to a direwolf, so we'll just do a few random comparisons to hopefully give you an idea of the size. So here is a Mattel Velociraptor and Dilophosaurus next to the direwolf as well, to continue to give you an idea of the size. I don't know why I thought I actually had like a Bullyland possibly version of a direwolf, but I'm not really sure if I do have one. I don't know where I would have it because I can't seem to locate it, but again, the Mattel figures are pretty popular, so I figured these two would be a pretty good one to bring in for a comparison. And continuing on with the randoms, we have the Schleich Diabloceratops and Collect A Deluxe Dimetrodon here for another size comparison. And then for one final comparison, we have the Howlong Good Nasutoceratops and Papo Ineosaurus, two fairly small ceratopsian models next to our dire wolf, just to give you one last idea of the size. So this brand new Star Ace Wonders of the Wild series dire wolf is honestly gorgeous. Like, I would say undoubtedly one of their best releases yet. They've had so many amazing releases in this line. The line definitely is pretty big at this point, and they continue to pump out more and more impressive models into this line. But what is cool about this is you can just see them getting better as they go. Like, from the start, I thought they were fantastic, but when you look at this direwolf and the quality and the overall appearance, like, it is easily one of the most interesting and striking models that they've released so far. It's also a really cool species that, again, is just so continuously overlooked. It's nice to see it get a little recognition once in a while. The sculpt of this is fantastic. Again, we not only have a dire wolf, but we have a dire wolf in a very cool, very dynamic pose, as it's obviously lunging up. We've got both of the front legs up off of the ground as it kind of lunges toward the Smilodon, and you can see all of the movement of the wolf is perfectly sculpted out to show off the positioning of the body, and again, the moment that is taking place here, like the skin wrinkling in the stomach, the skin kind of wrinkling in the throat and everything, the tensing of the muscles as it obviously is lunging forward, like the claws slightly extended there on the front foot, obviously, again, looking like it's about to try to take down this Smilodon potentially and create one of the craziest battles that I think I could ever possibly witness if I were given the opportunity to see it. I think a dire wolf taking on a Smilodon would be pretty spectacular. And of course, the face has a very, very vicious and ferocious look to it. And again, that's where we began looking at the model, and I think that's where the paint of the model really started to blow my mind, because when you look at the inside of the mouth, it is so well done, and the really nice gloss coat and, of course, the wash they've added to the teeth help to add so much realism to it. And as you move back through the course of the model, the realism never ceases. The paintwork of the fur is out of this world. There's just so much variation of color to the fur. The paintwork of the eyes and the gloss coat added to the eyes is as real as it could possibly get. The nails have a nice gloss coat. And again, everything on this just has probably the best paint job that I've seen from Star Ace so far. We also have whiskers on it, which, again, they're not just something sculpted on the model. They've actually genuinely added whiskers to it, which is really cool. And then as you move down to the base itself, the base is as lifelike as the dire wolf itself is. So overall, this is easily one of the most impressive prehistoric models I have ever seen, and one that I get the pleasure of adding to my collection with pride. Honestly, this is the type of model you really need to see in person. So if you are interested in picking one up for yourself, I will include a link in the description to where you can purchase it right now from Big Bad Toy Store. So make sure you check that link. Go grab this absolutely epic model, or you can actually purchase the 2-pack with this and the Smilodon, so you could just grab them both in one shot. Either way, it's a win, so make sure you check those links. Go grab this, or again, both of them, and also like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.